Brian from Canarsie, my hometown. That's where I grew up. Buy or sell on the better developmental system for WWE, OVW or NXT? I'm going to buy on NXT and I'm going to sell on OVW, even though NXT is run more like a glorified indie promotion now than a developmental territory. They do have live event loops down in Florida. They have a lot of talent at the Performance Center. But I feel like OVW, and some people may hear this and go, what? How can you say that? But I think OVW had that one really memorable sort of legendary class in 2002 with John Cena and Randy Orton and Brock Lesnar and Batista. And after that, I can't name too many guys or girls who went on to really big success like those guys did on the main roster. I mean, Shelton Benjamin, I think, was also in that 2002 class. Beth Phoenix came later on a few years, and she became a women's champion and a big star. So there are a few, but really, they had that one big class, and that's it. I think the system now, with all their different trainers, they bring in guest trainers from other countries. They are teaching you the way they want things to be done, and I could see where people would be upset about that because you should be exposed to all of these different styles. But I think they are to some degree when they bring those trainers in from different parts of the world. They had Johnny Saint, who's now the NXT UK GM. He came in last year to do a guest stint as a trainer, and I'm sure was teaching them a lot about British style wrestling. And I have to think they bring in other people as well who probably teach them things from Japan and Mexico. And I would hope that's something that they do. I've heard William Regal, who's part of that whole system. I've heard him talk about that. It's one of the things that sort of bothers him when he hears people criticize them for that very reason. When he hears people say, well, in WWE, they only teach you one style. And, he felt, look, we're bringing in trainers and people from, coaches from all different parts of the world. So you can pick whatever works for you. Maybe this style doesn't work, so you want to kind of mold your character after this style or that style. I mean, and that sounds great to hear him talk about that when I've heard him talk about it. In practice, is that the way it works with everybody? I don't know. But I've certainly, have seen that criticism, and I can understand why people would feel that way. To me, the best developmental system in the world is the independency. You get to travel the world, work different styles for different promotions. I mean, it's one thing to bring in a guest trainer from somewhere, but I would think, I'm no wrestler, but tell me if I'm wrong here, I would think it's even better to actually physically go to these places and live in that culture. If you're in Japan, go to the dojo, whatever the case may be. Actually visit these parts of the world, travel there, fly there, live there for a while, work there, work with the people who are there, and not just other newbies and other people that are in the same developmental system as you are, and get your exposure that way. I was just talking about Juice Robinson earlier and how he has transformed himself from how he was in NXT when he was CJ Parker to what he is now. He is the United States champion, IWGP US champ, and he just, he made a choice. He made a decision that I want to go to Japan. I want to improve. I want to learn. And he felt the only way to do that was to go to Japan. And he got in, he was a young lion for New Japan and sort of worked his way up, and now look at him. And New Japan does that with a lot of their talent. They send them on excursion. They did that with Naito. They've done that with a lot of people. When they go on excursion, they send them away. They don't bring people into New Japan to teach them how things are in Mexico. Naito went to go work in Mexico. And you can come up with a whole bunch of other examples of that. And then eventually they come back. They're more well-rounded. They've learned things. Maybe when they left, they thought, I'm going to be some great babyface. And when they come back, they're some kind of, kind of dreaded heel. Like, you kind of find yourself, I think, when you're able to do that. So to me, that's the best developmental system that there is. More than NXT and more than OVW. It's just getting out there and working different places. Making a name for yourself. But for the few big names that OVW churned out that went on to fame in WWE, NXT has its own share of success stories. Roman Reigns, even though I think technically you could say he started out in FCW. I know they consider him an NXT guy. I could see where some people might disagree. But, Roman Reigns, Charlotte, Big E was a product of the NXT system. Braun Strowman. Now, Braun Strowman never wrestled on NXT television, so I don't know that you can call him an NXT guy per se, but he trained at the PC for 2 years, before he made his debut on Raw. I'd say he's done pretty well for himself. He's been a quick learner. Now, for all the money that they've pumped into this operation, you would think that they would have more homegrown stars to show for it. They really don't have as many as they probably should for the money that they're pumping into this thing. But it's a long-term project. It's an investment in their future. It costs a lot of money to maintain that performance center, to build it and open it, and maybe they'll open more of them in other parts of the country at some point. And they employ a lot of people and coaches and wrestlers there. But again, it's a Triple H project. It's an investment in the future. I think it's something worth spending money on and even losing money on for the time being. But they probably should have more homegrown talent to show for it than they do. But they have a few success stories.